We can now start our budget session on the solicitor's office.
Do you present it?
No,
Is that what
go
we do?
ahead.
So, I guess I'll go back a little bit. In 2018, when I first joined, we had 5 attorneys and a paralegal and a legal secretary. We have pared that down significantly, and we now have 1 full-time attorney, who's the deputy solicitor, Jason Check, and then we have 2 part-time, in essence. I work on an hourly basis, and Gary Vasheko is a part-time employee. And we have now consolidated the paralegal and secretary position into 1 position. As you know, Colleen Borzon, who's been with the city for a long time, has now become the risk manager. Pam Waite is now serving as both the paralegal and legal secretary. So we're down about as small as we can get. And I think it's reflected really in the budget. Our costs aren't going to go, we're not anticipating any real change in costs. There's a slight, we got a new copier, courtesy of Lisa, so I think we're good with all of our needs. And I think overall our budget's actually gone down significantly since 2018, but it's even gone down since 2022. The one change is that there is, when Jason Check, the deputy solicitor, came on, he had less experience than the prior deputy solicitor, so there was a reduction in pay by about $10,000, and my plan was to make up for that over a 3-year period. And so that is incorporated roughly with a $3,000 annual increase, and I would expect to do the same next year with him.
Yeah, I do recall you mentioning that last year when we had started the process of you bringing up the fact that you wanted to increase him for, that amount for the next 3 years to bring him up to where he was. That way we wouldn't have the excuse that he doesn't have the experience that the previous person had for that wage. So we were letting people work their way up to that. So I appreciate that, because sometimes people feel slighted when they come in and they're not making what the previous person had, but the experience and knowledge plays a fact.
And he's been phenomenal. I mean, I think everyone, I'm pretty blessed with the crew that we have.
Yeah, Jason does very well, and he's definitely joined the team and been doing his fair share. So I know council appreciates his quick response through emails and his willingness to work on any ordinances we have as our little avenues to get things better in our city. Thank you for joining us after, whatever was going on.
Okay. Any other questions for the solicitor's office?
I mean, you've reduced your office, your expenses are down, and everything looks good on our end. Does anyone else on council have anything to mention or comment on? Good job. We appreciate it. Saving us money.
I'll escape all I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you were there for not even 10 minutes and you were ready to run.
You saw me get here.
Alrighty,
Next up, we've got HR, civil service, and risk, in whatever order you choose.
It is cold. It's even colder in the caucus room.
Now, if you want all 3 of you up here, I can move over there.
She'll come up when we get done with ours.
Okay.
Okay, so for HR,
Page 32.
Thank you.
our operating expenses stayed pretty much the same. A little bit of a decrease in professional services, what we're budgeting for next year, a little bit more in repair and maintenance because we've done a lot of shredding. We're trying to get rid of paper and we're doing a lot of shredding, make things paperless. For salaries, you will notice an increase for 3 non-bargaining positions. That would be Lainey, Mary, and Mari. Several reasons for that. Internal equity to ensure that the HR employees are compensated.
Can I just jump in real quick? So on the budget, we have our 2024 final salary. If council has a chance, look at the 2024 budget and realize how much money was saved in certain positions. I know you're bringing up the equity aspect of it, but I always end up comparing the 2024 final budget numbers. But really, the budgeted numbers from last year is where we should be comparing this department, if you have last year's budget online. Sorry, that'll be helpful for you.
Yeah, thank you. So ensuring that they're fairly paid, equity paid. Other employees at the city and other departments have been given increases throughout the year. Even with these increases, these employees are the lowest paid non-bargaining employees at the city, even with the increases. One of the things that happened when Colleen joined HR as the risk manager and when the previous risk manager left was we decided to distribute duties differently. What we found was that Chris was spending a lot of time paying bills. And I don't know if you have any idea, and I'm happy to share the amount of bills that come through Risk daily, monthly. It's unbelievable. So in order for Colleen to really focus on risk and safety, we took all the clerical work off of that job and we distributed it among these girls. So Mary is doing all of the risk bills in addition to everything she's already doing, which meant that Lainey then had to take over being the workflow initiator is what I would call it, with the PDFs and all the paperwork. And then Mari is backup for both of them, and she's doing all the new online onboarding, unemployment, and any project that we give her. So it's kind of been distributed. That's why I'm asking for increases for them. I have just paper copies of like how many PDFs go through our department in a year. Probably have no idea how many, but it's a lot. I'd be happy to share. I don't have enough for everybody, but I'd be happy to share this with you later. The city has 785 employees. That's a lot. And HR literally touches every employee from pre-hire through employment and into retirement. The HR team interacts with every department, and the amount of knowledge that's necessary for these positions, knowing all 4 contracts, knowledge of all the job description, handling confidential information. Our current team is amazing. I'm very proud of what we do, and they're very worthy of these increases.
Any questions for HR?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate you wanting to value your workers and making sure that the work that they've been doing the last year has been compensated adequately. It just makes me fearful on the end result of our budget. So I'm not going to say I'm a no on it. I just want everyone to be aware that we are a very strapped city, so it gets kind of tight when we're trying to make sure everybody is valued. So I know that we all need to make sure that we're valuing the people who are here and the work that they do. So I appreciate you coming forward and advocating for your workers. Does anyone
I just
else?
want to point out that I didn't look up the numbers ahead of time, but of your 6 employees, what we budgeted for last year, 2 of them are budgeted for less money this year. So you take in like the standard, the standard raises that were in line, that justifies most of them, and then the rest of them are that 2 of them had a reduction in salary between the risk manager and the DEI coordinator. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that makes it a lot easier is when
Right.
you're finding those kinds of angles at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we didn't see any big drastic changes or anything, so we appreciate you guys coming prepared and having everything very easy to follow along, and like I said, advocating for your workers, because appreciating those who you work with and making sure that they're being compensated adequately is always needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I will say, if I can add to that, she is a real steward of taxpayer money, and anytime we have a few of those around, and Eunice has proven to be one of them. I mean, down to the little
Changing a policy that makes more
$5
money.
here and there,
Having
so.
somebody not get benefits if they're hired in December and then getting a raise in January. I mean, we've changed a lot of things to save money that way.
That's good. Anything that saves money is appreciated. Thank you, ladies. Have a good rest of your day.
So now it's civil
Civil
service.
service.
Okay,
Okay.
civil service.
And just to recap, in case anybody doesn't know, civil service is basically the hiring of police and fire. So this next year coming up, 2025, is a fire test year. And you can see this is a small budget. It's a little over $28,000, but 56% of that is for the fire test. So there's a cost for the testing, there's a cost for the proctoring, and what, I don't know how it gets allocated. I think it goes into a miscellaneous account, but when we get applications, they're online applications, anybody who applies pays a $50 processing fee for the application. So I put this budget together at about 250 applicants for the fire test.
What
Now-
page?
What page is it?
Page 33.
It's on 33.
So we guesstimated, I mean, I've seen as many as, 400, but last time, I think it was closer to the 250. So we put it together at 250. That would be a little over, I think, $12,000 to offset. We could consider increasing that even $15 per application, and at 250 applicants, that would basically cover the cost of the test. Comes to about $16,000, so we may think about that, doing that. So anyway.
A lot of these things really, I mean, they should always be revenue neutral. Whatever the cost is should get passed on to the people using on some of these types of things.
We actually do that with the background checks for fire. They pay for their own.
Yeah.
It's a Pennsylvania
Most
one.
employers make you do that on your own.
New hires
Yeah.
pay for their own.
Yeah, other new hires that, when we do background checks for those who work in City Hall, and they pay for their own.
Do we have to do anything to make it from 65 to, or from 50 to 65, or is that just an administrative thing?
I think I don't know what made it 50, because it was before my time. So making it 65, I mean, we could make it 75 or 100, but just to break even with it, with the cost of just the fire test itself, $65. And that's assuming there's 250 applicants. If there's more, then obviously it's more money coming in, but, okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
The cost of hiring on our end, now there's a deeper dive that gets done with police, and Chris Janis handles that. But our piece of it, we hire where we schedule them for the psychological screening, we do the credit check, and we pay for that. The drug and alcohol and the physicals, we pay for that. And that comes to about $780 per person. We're guesstimating we may hire, the high end is 14, 8 police and 6 fire. It may not come to that, but it could. So that basically explains our $28,000 budget for civil service. Have any questions?
No, everyone needs to be trained, and we need to make sure we're all vetted, so we understand the need for the expense. I don't think we can cut any corners, and raising that little bit of a fee so that it breaks even makes sense, so that it's not a burden on the taxpayers.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I go back to, sorry, 513? When we're looking at the two salaries that were lower than we had budgeted for, and are still budgeted lower than what last year was, is it because they were new hires and they're just coming in?
Yes,
That's why
so
okay.
Chris left and Colleen, yes.
Thank you.
We're trying to break the habit of people walking in making what the previous person had
We've
been.
we've
yeah.
really done a lot of
Eunice and her
change in that.
department have been doing a good
Because
job the last 2
previously they would
years.
just move into the salary of that person, which we've made a difference in that.
And I think it's just worth repeating what Councilmember Nelson said, is even just with those raises, they're still less than what they would have been budgeted for. So when we're advocating, or when we're looking at that, just to kind of keep that in mind too.
Right.
And I've been a jerk to them in like previous budget sessions when they asked
I
for
know
a
you've been a
full-time
jerk.
spot,
I
but
sit
still have the
behind you.
casual labor in there. Like, I'll give my flowers when they're due.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to comment on that? The 28,000 and for the civil service? No? No? I think we're good on that. Next.
Risk.
Hello. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
In your book, on page 53, there was a slight error that didn't get updated. So handouts.
Oh, okay.
This is for the property and casualty. So insurance management is our broker, and they ran these for us. So these are pretty current and up to date.
Thank you. Are we allowed to do this?
That's Rena. Sit here, she can sit here.
She can sit next to you.
Big trees up this way.
You can sit there.
Oh, you're gonna, yeah, leave it in the hot seat.
Okay, all right. All my papers are over there. So as far as risk and safety goes, I've been trying to dedicate some more time to that, which sometimes you get in the weeds on these things, and it sucks up a lot of time. So basically,
Hang on, before we start, in the budget book, you're looking for page 88 and 89. And Colleen's going to be talking off of some of the council book handouts as well.
right, so I presume they have this. This was the
That's the council book, the
preliminary.
handouts.
And on page 50, you'll see there's some narratives of the different things that I've been working on. Some of the stuff that I've been working on is a work in progress. We work with PMA because we're self-insured. We have to have a safety consultant. And so we work with PMA, and I've gone with Ken to some of our different facilities and looked at different things and followed him and watched him do the training for confined space entry, stuff like that, that, you know, they can't just go down into a sewer, they could end up dead. So, you know, they have to know about the meters and how to read the meters. So that's been interesting, trying to learn on that. The other project I have going on is when PMA was down at our compost site. I don't know if you've ever been down there. So we have a big maintenance garage that floods frequently, and then we have an office trailer attached, which is falling apart. So our consultant says that's got to go. So it's a lot of little things like that that I get involved in, and you'll be seeing some of this come across your desk when I need money. Since I'm fairly new at this, why don't you just throw your questions my way?
I mean, normally we go over the budget, and then if anything sticks out, we ask the questions.
So these are, it says claims made and reported, and that's where this is like our deductible, and then they covered anything above it. And then these are all the ones that we've paid out of risk management this year.
Right. And so we have Travelers. Chubb is our property and cyber. Last year at this time, Travelers said they wouldn't insure our police department. So insurance management.
So when did that happen?
Last year. So insurance management and Chris scrambled to find a company to write for our police department, otherwise we would have had to shut it down. So that's why we have Richmond in there.
Gotcha. So I'm sorry, when did Travelers drop our police department? Like, just sometime in the last 12 months?
Right, it was like November of last year, 2023, they said they weren't gonna write for 2024. And we didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
But insurance management, they shop for all our policies, You know, they'll give us a booklet and they'll say how many insurance companies responded, how many they reached out to, and then they wouldn't even give us a price. You know, that happens a lot of times too. So it's kind of hard trying to get the government entity insured.
Have we seen any change with Hub International coming on board there?
Pardon me?
Have you seen any change with Hub International coming on board there?
No, but it's going to open up doors for more resources. I haven't even really been able to get into that. That happened just as I was in all the renewal process. But I am kind of excited about it because that's a big company.
They offer a lot that we'll be able to benefit from.
Right. The other thing we're trying to work on is to get an MVR policy in place where, and we're probably going to have a third party do it, but it will look at everybody that has the potential to drive a city vehicle. It'll look at their driver's license at least once a year. So if somebody out there got a DUI, they're not going to come in and tell their supervisor, but we need to know. So that's another thing that's in the works here.
Yeah, that's good, because we have a lot of people who get citations or, reprimanded, and the employer never really knows about it. I mean, I work with individuals with intellectual disabilities, so I have to report my license and my insurance updates. So for me, in order to work, I have to make sure that I'm following the rules of
Well,
laws.
that's what that's one of the things my office is trying to get in place. So it's a lot of little things like that that I think Hub will be able to help us with too.
Another thing we're really monitoring is accidents. Sometimes we're not aware of accidents or what department has had them, so Colleen's been really delving into that. We're tracking it.
Good.
Looking to see if there's patterns and, what we can do to make improvements in that area as well.
Since you said that, Eunice, thank you for that. Like where I work, I had to fill out an accident report because I had fallen. So that is.
We have accident reports. Incident reports.
Okay.
Pardon me? I'm sorry. No. We do have incident reports. HR was not always aware if there was an accident on a city vehicle.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So now we're
Where
monitoring that.
I used to see that in the solicitor's office because we handled those claims and, people thought they were going to get a whole brand new car out of the deal, but we have government immunity, and so that's got a lot of little nuances to it, and it keeps you busy just with the auto accidents.
Well, I appreciate you doing the work, especially if you've seen that there was something that was falling through the cracks, and then when you moved over, you decided that you wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that continued. Because if you see a problem, fix the problem, not continue to allow it to get worse. So thank you for your diligence, and congratulations on your new position and getting to work and doing everything that you've been doing with risk management. Because it looks like, at least for the information provided, you've got a lot going on, and anything that protects the city is always appreciated, so I don't think anyone on council is going to be against that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have
Mr.
anything to comment?
Witherspoon?
No?
So putting together the risk budget is difficult because we've got brokers for all the different types of insurance, but we're doing our renewals. We're giving them all this data that they need to do our renewals during budget season. So they don't actually know what the policies are going to come in at until after we've done these renewals. And they've got to give us their best guess in October so we can get the budget prepared. So it's challenging. Yeah, it's always challenging every year.
I lied, I do have a question. Looking at just the property insurance, it's a decent jump when we're looking at 4062. I'm just curious, is that because we're in a spot where there's been deferred maintenance and there's just more liability coming into some of the properties that we own, or is it we're just seeing an increase in property insurance, period?
It's just across the board, the property insurance. And like I said, insurance management, as our broker, they shop that and keep an eye on it. So, they're doing a good job, and they'll get back to me and say, like I said, that we sent out 10 requests and we only got 2 back, and, so a little hard, but
Yeah.
they do a good job.
I guess I was just curious to see if it's more of, our properties are becoming more liable just because they're older and things are gonna happen and,
Right.
okay,
Well, and the zoo is in there too.
yeah. Thank you for reaching my point for me. Now I really am done, sorry.
All right, I don't think anyone else has any questions for the risk management.
One more thing. So on this color columned thing, these are all the things that we paid out for. There's other things that are covered, like on crime, $1,000 employee dishonesty. Does that mean that we had $1,000 of employee dishonesty that was claimed and paid? Oh yeah, sorry, million. It's not decimal, it's a comma.
Your hand up.
I leave the last one out. We have an old case that Travelers is still carrying on their books from somebody that embezzled from the city. So we still have that black mark out there. Some of the money was repaid, and that was a long time ago. I'm thinking like 20 years ago. So, you know, when they're crunching the numbers and the underwriters are looking at our history, that comes into play.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming during the snowstorm to provide your
Of course.
budget for the new year, but business has to continue, right?
Yes.
Was that
Well, we had originally scheduled the treasurer's
Yeah,
office,
she's-
but they rescheduled, and they will be presenting on the 12th.
Okay, thank you. I'm pretty sure the clerks have updated our schedule on who's going to be. And tomorrow, we have one
We
budget
have
session with,
Public Works.
yep, Public Works.
Not wanting to reschedule even with everything that's going
Right.
on. That's kind of tentative in case something happens.
In case we
and
get the 30
they
inches.
can't take it, but they really want to get it done.
Yeah, one thing I can honestly say is that the month of December schedule is pre-planned, so having to reschedule anything gets kind of tight, trying to
Right.
fit it in our schedule. So I understand wanting to conduct business as needed, but we always have to make sure that we're putting our safety as a priority as well. So let's hope that we can conduct business tomorrow, but I believe that concludes our budget session today. Thank you, everyone who came. Have a good, safe evening.